Artisans, welcome back to the Artisan Electrics channel, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. We post videos here every week about electrical work and the life of an electrician. So if you don't want to miss out, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you get regular updates from us. So today's job was an absolute nightmare, I've got to be honest. Let me tell you what happened. So a few months ago we did an EICR on this property. It was a Victorian house in the middle of Cambridge, and essentially there were issues when we did the EICR that needed to be resolved. So we went back and we did the remedial work that we thought was necessary. But unfortunately, looming below the surface in places where we hadn't looked, there were major issues with the electrical installation, and those issues reared their ugly head one night a few weeks ago, which happened to be New Year's Eve. And if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw this manic video that I posted up of me trying to sort out this fault late on New Year's Eve and just being fed up I couldn't find the problem. It actually took me 3 hours, and I had to take off all of the sockets on this socket circuit one by one, testing out all the cables until I eventually found the problem. And I'm going to show you around the installation in this video and show you what we had to do to sort it out. But let's just say there were major issues here. There were junction boxes under floorboards which were not accessible and which clearly had problems. There was old VIR cabling in several places. There was weird cabling that looked like it had been done by a DIYer, and it wasn't even cabling, it was kind of wires run behind skirting board. And there was really old socket outlets that were just past their usable life. There were lights that were spurred off the socket circuit, but nowhere could we find a fused connection unit or anywhere, anything like that they were fused down. The whole thing was just a nightmare. So after isolating all the sockets on that circuit on New Year's Eve, ripping all of the covers off, testing out a load of the cables, I just said to the lady, look, we're going to need to basically pretty much fully rewire this circuit, and that's the only way that we can solve this issue. So we came back 3 weeks later, and today's job is me showing you what we found and what we did to rectify it. As always, if you enjoy our videos, hit the thumbs up, smash that like button, should I say, for the YouTube algorithm, because it really helps our videos get shared out to other people who would benefit from them. And don't forget to subscribe, because I know that about 70% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, which doesn't make any sense, because if you're not subscribed, you're missing out on great content every week. So thank you for watching and have a great day. So I'm here in the house from hell. I got called out here on New Year's Eve. The electrics were tripping to the sockets, and it took me about 3 hours to figure out what the problem was. I took off all the socket covers on the particular circuit, and eventually I found VIR cable and a very damp socket that was all corroded, and there's just a huge amount of problems on this circuit. So I'm going to walk you through what I found and what we're going to try and do about it. We're here today trying to rewire the circuit, trying to keep as much as we can to avoid unnecessary expense for the customer, but there is a lot of cables that need replacing really. So I'm going to show you around. So here's the consumer unit, and it's an old PVC one, but in fairly good condition. The circuit that is problematic, it used to be a ring, but we actually did an EICR here and we downgraded it to a 16 amp after that, because we could tell that it wasn't really a proper ring. But obviously when you're doing an EICR, you don't take off every single socket cover, and if you get good insulation readings, then no reason to suggest rewiring the circuit. However, on further investigation, there is a lot of dodgy cabling in this place, as you're going to see. So basically coming out of the consumer unit is PVC cables, but then just above the floor there
above the floorboards are VIR cables spurring off in some old connector blocks, which is really hideous, and they sort of go off to various sockets.
So here we are above the floor, and as you can see, cables come up here in PVC, but then they were basically in these connector blocks under the floor, and they had these old VIR cables coming off them. Basically, VIR goes under the floor here and goes to this old socket, and then from this old socket it spurs off in these weird wires, which are basically like singles. And I think what they've done is actually wired in singles and run them behind the skirting boards. So it's a single insulated cable. As you can see, they've used all black wires and then they've just taped them up to identify them. Red and blue, which is not great, and the earth is not even identified at all. And then it goes across to this one. So again, same kind of issue. Weird, really weird way of wiring it. And I can't really figure out why or how they've done it like that. It almost looks like pyro, but it's not pyro, as far as I can tell. I'm going to get some floorboards up and see what's underneath, but it's just a very, very strange arrangement. So from the consumer unit, we've got actually several cables coming down inside this sort of boxing here. And it's just so dodgy. Look at this, right? It's absolutely cramped. So you've got a gas pipe, you've got another steel pipe of some sort. I'm not sure if it's a water pipe or something else. Then behind, right at the back here, I don't know if you can see it, but just here is the old lead oil tape supply cable for the whole installation, the DNO supply cable. And then you've got like 3 or 4 twin and earths and a bit of 10mm, all going down in that one little bit of boxing. It's really tight. Yeah, that's the DNO cable, which is really old, as you can see. So it's all a bit of a mess, this place. It's kind of frustrating, but we've just managed to kind of trace everything round. So what we found is that one leg of the ring PVC goes to here. You can see the 2 cables under there. Those are the 2 legs of the ring, which we can salvage because they are PVC twin and earth. And the other leg goes to here. So you've got a leg of the ring coming up here. Then you've got those funny singles again, which run along in the skirting. And that socket over there has just got that one set of singles in, which is all run behind the skirting. So we're going to rewire that. Here you've got VIR cable feeding this socket, so we've got to rewire this socket. Then over here we've got more VIR. It's a bit dark, I'll get a light on. Yeah, so now I've got a bit of light on it. You can see this is VIR. The socket was pretty corroded. There's quite some damp issues on these walls. You can see it's all mouldy, so it's not great, to be honest. But anyway, this one needs rewiring as well. The VIR from this one, goodness knows where it goes, to be honest. It's all a bit of a mess, so we're just going to rip it all out and start again. So we've got floorboards up here. There's a single PVC cable here, which I presume goes over to that other socket that we've just seen where the VIR cable was. We could reuse this, but I want to put all the sockets on the ring, so we're going to try and rewire this as well. So here, this single socket has PVC cables. It's got a bit of corrosion on the earths, so we're going to cut and strip that cable back. One of them has a leg of the ring from the consumer unit, and the other one goes out from here under the floorboards and then through under here, which you think, oh, floorboards, great, you can whip those up. There's concrete underneath that, believe it or not. There's actually a wall under here, and then concrete under these floorboards. But anyway, that cable then eventually makes its way across to here, to the bathroom, where there was a 4 cable junction box with just connector blocks. One of those is that cable we've just seen. Another one is a PVC twin and earth cable which goes out to a junction box under the floorboards. And then these other 2, one of them goes to this socket here, and then the other one, we're not sure where it goes. But anyway, you can see this cable going under the floorboards here. We've got a junction box under the floorboards here, which is quite new because someone's come along and spurred off this ring to put in this new double socket here. And then from there they spurred off to here to extend the ring round. And then this one goes out to the living room where we've got a radial with several PVC twin and earth sockets all around the place. These cables were too short, so they put them in connectors in the back of the socket box and then just extended forward from the connectors. But actually this wiring's fairly new, and this is as you can see, like a nice oak floor. There's no way we're getting this up. It's also, half of this is an extension, so we could not possibly, it's concrete floor underneath, so we couldn't really do much with that. Then there's another socket in the kitchen, which is a spur here, which we don't know where that cable comes from, but presumably it comes from the living room somewhere. And then, just to top it all off, the lights in the living room here are both running off the socket circuit as well. Each light has only 1 cable in it, so there's obviously a junction box somewhere. This is the light switch for that. It's an old dimmer switch. Again, no junction box behind the light switch, so that doesn't really help us. This light is also fed off of it. This is a sort of little dining room area. That light is the light switch that does it. And the boiler spur and also this spur from the outside lights all come off of that. And you can see that there's a PVC twin and earth cable coming up from under the floor to feed these. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of stuff running off the circuit. So what we've decided to do is remove most of these cables and put a fused connection unit here, rewire the ring completely up to this point, and then spur off of here to do the living room sockets and lights, because they're not going to have much load on those, and that means that the 1.5mm cables for the lights are protected by a 13 amp fuse here, which means that they are protected and we don't need to rewire all the lights, because that would mean taking those wooden panel ceilings down, and it's just a whole nother can of worms being opened up if we try to do that. So we're just going to rewire under the floorboards, rewire basically this socket, these 2 sockets, and these 2 sockets. We're going to rewire those as a ring. Oh, and the 2 upstairs as well, which I've shown you already. Rewire those as a ring and then spur off to do the other part of the house with a 13 amp fused spur. Right, so we are getting there now. I've got some cables in. Most of the cables are in. As you can see, this is the old one. It was literally singles run behind the skirting. A really bodge job that was done there. And the earth is just a funny little uninsulated earth wire that they've run in as well. So we're getting rid of that. Got new twin and earths in. I've run round to all the sockets, put a new ring in. So just got to start putting the new boxes in, because these old ones are all completely corroded because of damp and cat urine, I believe, which is not the first time I've come across that. Cats seem to love to pee on sockets, and skirting boards for some reason. So we're going to replace these back boxes as well, and I'll tidy that up.
So it's now 8:10 at night. I've been here since 8 o'clock this morning. This has been an absolute nightmare of a job, to be honest. It's just been a can of worms. Every step of the way there's been obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, and I'm fed up, as you can probably tell by my face, but it's nearly done now, so we're just clearing up. But basically we've had to rewire 80% of the socket circuit, I would say, in the end. And then there was part that we couldn't get to because it was tiled floor over floorboards, and evidently under there was some junction boxes that had got full of damp or something, we don't know what, but there were spurs off of them, so we had to cut out that part of the circuit. And then for some of the lights, we were able to fuse those down and keep them off the socket circuit, but then another light, which was just across from that, was wired off a different side of the ring, and we couldn't keep that on the circuit because it was wired off some of the dodgy cabling. So what we've had to do is actually spur off of a socket, run trunking on the surface up to a light switch and then up to the light. And we've had to do the same for the boiler, spur off a nearby socket on the kitchen ring to run the boiler and the outside lights as well. So it's been an absolute marathon of a day, but just about there now. So as you can see, that was just a nightmare of a job. Let me know in the comments what you think. Have you ever had a job like that? I'd love to hear from you. And as always, if you haven't done so already, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel because we post videos here every week. And if you hit the notification bell, you won't miss out. Also, in the next few days, so Thursday the 29th, I believe, I'm going to be heading over to Elex at Alexandra Palace in London, and I'd love to meet up with some of you subscribers there. I'm going to bring with me some of these, my Artisan Electrics stickers, and I know some of you love stickers, so feel free to say hello if you see me over there. I'll be wearing my Artisan Electrics t-shirt that I've got on now, and I hope to meet some of you there. Thanks for watching and have a great day.